Hi, this is Jared Ingol. I recently had the honor, really, of being interviewed by my son Mateo for a college assignment. I think he picked me because of my background in ministry and my educational background as well with graduate schools that I've attended and my understanding of Christian doctrine. I'm going to share with you a piece that's not exactly my forte, but this is on spiritual warfare. So if you have questions about spiritual warfare, I might be able to answer some of them.
So another thing that I noticed in the Bible was King David in the Psalms, where he seems to battle with his inner self and spirit man just throughout the entire book of Psalms. So in what ways could we see that he was possibly affected mentally through that?
Well, there are many different ways to view it. I choose to believe that David was an artistic type. We have all these diagnoses, now, and I use those as I need to. But really, we had some terms that we forgot, and artistic temperament is one of them. It's people who are like a Machiavellian man or a Renaissance man. David could do it all if you think about it. He was a highly trained musician. He was a fierce warrior from a young age. He was a shepherd. He had this, so he knew the country as well. He established a big city, Jerusalem. He's the first one to really build up Jerusalem. He did all of these amazing things. He gathered everything that was needed because he had the vision for the temple. He gathered it all for Solomon. He was talented in so many different areas. And usually we find with people like that are highly artistic, not autistic, if you want to spell that out, artistic, that they have fluctuations in emotion. They are moved to do certain things. And I think that we see the grief and the passion of David throughout the Psalms. And I think it is beautiful. I do not choose for 1 minute to believe that what we're witnessing in the Psalms is a mental health issue. I choose to believe that David is saying what's on all of our hearts when we go to bed at night and we're really quiet and the day weighs heavily on us. He's saying the things that we want to say. He's saying the things that we want to say when we're alone. And that's why the book of Psalms is considered across the board the greatest prayer book of all of history. And when we pray the Psalms, when we apply them metaphorically, we may not want God to chop off the heads of all of our enemies like you see in some of these Psalms, something like that. But we can definitely apply that to spiritual warfare.
Okay.
So I usually, when it comes to David, I back down from the idea of a mental health idea.
Okay. So if he didn't have a disorder, do you think there were just days where his mental health just wasn't like top tier? Like, do you think he struggled sometimes with like stress or depression, or do you think that was just mostly his artistic temperament?
Well, I think his temperament was part of it. I also think that you see glimpses of that, but David was wise enough, like no other king. I mean, David was wise enough to surround himself by strong men. And so if he had a bad day, you often see people cheering him up. He even says at one point that he basically strengthens himself in the Lord. And so I think there's a raw openness to David. When he's walking away from Jerusalem, this city that he's built, this palace that he's built, and his son Absalom has taken it all over with a military coup. And he's mocking David to the masses. And David and his little entourage has barely escaped. And they're walking away. And this man is slinging mud literally at him from a cliff and taunting him. And you see this humble man walking along. I think you see a glimpse of a man that's grieving, maybe a man that's depressed, a man that's overcome. His son had taken over his kingdom. So you see a lot of that. I could say in our terms we might label things like depression and stuff like that, but I think that's due to a bunch of different factors when you're leading a nation.
Very, very true. Very true.